All right, welcome back. We have a major development here when it comes to space. Billionaire Jared Isaacman making history, floating outside the Crew Dragon capsule on Thursday in a first privately funded spacewalk almost 500 miles above Earth as part of the SpaceX's Polaris Dawn mission. Joining us now to discuss is former NASA astronaut and former commander of the International Space Station, Leroy Chiao. Welcome to Sunday Report. Great to have you on. This is interesting to talk to you about this. Talk to us about the significance of this spacewalk. What kind of preparation goes into something like this on the ground and up in space?
Sure, I do. I do have to say, first off, that when I first heard that non-professionals were going to go up and actually do a spacewalk in a new suit, for testing it for the first time in space and evacuating the entire capsule, all four crew members would have to be in their spacesuits. It did raise my eyebrows a little bit. But then after looking into it a little more, they were preparing for over 2 years for this mission. I used to do some consulting for SpaceX, and I know a lot of the folks there, and I know they're very much dedicated to safety. So I came away thinking that this was going to be okay, and it worked out fine. But it is an important first. It's a big deal. This is the first step towards possibly companies like SpaceX one day having their own astronaut corps and not depending on either retired NASA astronauts or even vehicles being flown currently by active NASA astronauts to and from the ISS. So that's an exciting first step.
You talk about those risks because you say, it went safely, things worked out. The capsule touched down safely early in this morning and splashing down in the Gulf of Mexico, capping off this 5-day mission to orbit, landing from Earth and then hundreds of miles above space. Sounds like it could have been a lot more complicated. But what goes into something like this? You talk about those risks. There would have been they would have had to do a lot of research here to be able to make sure that he was able to do something like this, right?
Sure. Anytime you get on top of a rocket, there's going to be some risk. And then if you're going outside and doing a spacewalk, that level of risk goes up again. And of course, everything is managed as well as possible. You try to minimize those risks. You learn from your past experiences. But yeah, there's no getting away from it when you get onto a rocket with rocket engines and fuel. And then when you're going outside in a suit that, they're just a few layers separating you from the vacuum of space. There's going to be risk involved. And so preparation is the key, and that goes from the engineering and actually designing and building things, the quality, the testing, and the training for all the different things that could go wrong. So fortunately, this time is just like other missions. Most of the time things go well, but as we well know, there have been mishaps and accidents in the past.
Where do you think that we go from here, though? It seems like when we talk about space travel now, we're talking about NASA, SpaceX revolutionizing the commercial space industry. Are we looking at a new frontier where commercial space companies are sharing space with NASA? And how will this change the space exploration and travel?
I really do think it's going to be going more towards the commercial side. Elon Musk, who started SpaceX 20 some odd years ago, said he did so because he wants to send human colonies and establish human colonies on Mars. And he's coming up on getting ready for his 5th flight test of the Starship and the Falcon Super Heavy booster, being designed to be a fully reusable system that's really going to revolutionize and dramatically bring down the cost of launching things into space. And he says a version of that Starship will one day take around 100 people at a time to Mars. So NASA right now is working with SpaceX. Like I said, the Falcon 9 and the Dragon spacecraft are currently flying NASA astronaut and some others to and from the ISS. And so, I hope that partnership will increase because SpaceX has the nimbleness and the innovation, whereas NASA has the, decades of operating experience. How do you run space missions? How do you train crews? How do you control them from a control center? And so if we could leverage the positives off of each, I think we'll get there sooner.
Yeah, maybe there'll be more crossover there for sure. Let's talk about this real quickly. 2 astronauts stranded on the International Space Station. They were scheduled to spend just 8 days aboard the ISS when they launched it into space on June 5th. It's now been a little over 100 days, with the pair expected to return home in February. What's it going to take to bring these two back to Earth safely, and maybe give us an idea of what it would be like to be up there and you know, somewhat stranded before they can return home months from now?
Sure. I mean, nobody likes surprises. I think the things that humans like the least is uncertainty. And so Butch and Sunny, the two astronauts that went up expecting to spend about 8 days up there, you know, during the weeks of uncertainty of what was going to happen, you know, that had to be somewhat stressful. But they're consummate professionals. And once the decision was made that they're going to come down on a SpaceX Dragon spacecraft in February, then they were able to make plans. And, you know, astronauts like being in space. And so, you know, I know that they're friends with the people that are up there now, even before they flew. And so it's all going to be fine. And you can bet that the planners, the schedulers, are really happy to have those extra pairs of hands up there. And so unfortunately for the two crew members that have been taken off of Crew 9, the Crew 9 flight that's about to launch, you know, they will be reassigned, I'm sure, but everyone's life is much better now that the decision has been made. So I think NASA definitely made the right call. There were enough questions and enough unknowns about the Starliner that it was the right decision to keep Butch and Sunny up there and bring them down in February.
Let's hope we can get them home safely. Thank you so much, Leroy Chiao. Awesome to have you on. Appreciate all that insight about the next frontier and up there in space. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.